Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about an article which is from a sort of university tabloid paper in all UK universities, and it's titled "Racial Preferences Are the Final Taboo of Dating. It's Time to Call Them Out." Firstly, my perspective on racial preferences in dating. I don't have a problem with racial preferences because I believe that all humans are shallow when it comes to anything that has anything to do with our biological drives. There are of course exceptions, but I'm talking generally, and that we live in societies which are shallow and that, we're all just rather horrible people. So I don't have very high expectations for myself or for anyone else. So I don't have a problem with racial preferences from that perspective. They, that is racial preferences, have no place on dating apps and by extension no place in real life. There's something about the phrase "I only date black boys" or "I'm not really attracted to Asian girls" that instinctively makes everyone uncomfortable. You can replace that with any race and the feeling is the same. Maybe we all do genuinely have preferences and we aren't willing to address them for fear of being racist, or maybe it's actually racist. I think for somebody to say, "I'm only going to date somebody who is black," being black, I wouldn't see that as racist. Similarly to how I don't see people deciding to date someone because they see them as being stable and having a certain amount of income or being of a certain religion to be problematic. One thing is for sure, racial preferences are the final taboo of dating, and no one really knows if they're okay or not. I'm here to tell you that they are not, and they run the risk of veering into racism, fetishization, and the demonization of other races. Dating apps are part of this. Grindr recently removed their race filter, which means users can no longer filter the profiles they see based on someone's race. Seems pretty straightforward, right? This is the problem when you police people's opinions and people's preferences or their intuitive beliefs that they hold. When you police them and when you basically legislate what people can and can't think, you're not changing anyone's opinions. This is not going to get rid of people racially profiling who they want to date and who they don't want to date. This doesn't address the root of the problem, which isn't racial preferences, but people being shallow. And to be fair, I don't think you can legislate that or try to undermine that through coercion and trying to influence what people think. I mean, I definitely used to hold this opinion, this idea that, oh, people don't date me because I'm black. And you know what? Maybe I was right. Maybe I am right. But the idea of then subsequently inducing and coercing people into finding me attractive because they're too scared that they'll be called out as racist because they have racial preferences, which didn't even heavily feature in their lives until this became a thing, in which now, a white guy who only likes the dating profiles of white girls is now thinking to himself, "Oh, shite, I'm racist." I mean, come on. But the move has been divisive. I recently had an argument with my housemate who puts "No Asian people please" on his profile when he visits Thailand, who is less than pleased about the race filter being removed. I wonder why. Even without the filter, this guy isn't going to date or want to click on the profiles of Asian people. Having the filter just made their life easier. This just now makes their life harder. But irrespective, he's just taking the more scenic route now to the exact same end because the filter's no longer there. Grindr isn't the only app either. Hinge deal breaker option allows you to pick race as a non-negotiable option for the profiles you are recommended. Hinge says this supports our users of color in finding a partner with shared cultural experiences and background. But why is it an option for white users then? Because that infers that white people don't have cultural experiences or backgrounds. This is another problem I have, that apparently white people aren't allowed to have culture, they aren't allowed to have backgrounds, they aren't allowed to have experiences, and they're not allowed to have preferences. How come it's fine for every other race to have that And an excuse cannot be that, oh, because white people are, not marginalized or they're not a minority. That's not an excuse. Just because somebody is of a minority, it doesn't devalue or make less significant their experiences or what they may want out of life. A white person may want to marry somebody who is a Christian and who is successful in their business because that makes them feel safe and secure, and they may direct those preferences which they want toward the people who they're most exposed to, which are white people in their communities or in their, church communities. Does that make it bad? No. From discussing racial preferences with multiple people, you'll quickly work out that everyone has a different opinion and none of them are completely right. That's why it's the final taboo of dating. It's the biggest grey area we have left. Harry, a Royal Holloway grad, defended his right to racial preferences in dating and explained how he feels they aren't racist. He told the Tab, "I believe that it's completely okay to be attracted to anyone based upon their physical attributes." I completely agree with that. Human beings base physical attraction above all else on initial encounters.
Love every man in the room does not end the evening in love with you, that I am no judge of beauty.
All men.
No, they are far too easy to judge.
That's just how our bodies and biology works. Attraction isn't true love.
So which of the painted peacocks is our Mr. Bingley?
Well, he's on the right, and on the left is his sister.
And the person with the quizzical brow?
That is his good friend, Mr. Darcy.
He looks miserable, poor soul.
Miserable he may be, but poor he most certainly is not.
Tell me.
10,000 a year, and he owns half of Derbyshire.
The miserable half.
Both Liza and Darcy are incredibly shallow in this regard, as we all are when we initially meet someone. It is not just a consequence of our social upbringing or our social context. This is natural, and it is something that everybody experiences inevitably. Racial preferences are, however, about that initial appearance, the physical and external. Of course, this often infers stereotypes and assumptions about someone before getting to know them. But in all fairness, what are we to expect from real life and online dating? Online dating is all about the external, as is literally all social media. Social media is superficial, online dating is superficial, and typically only proves itself at the surface level. For example, hookups, casual relationships, etc. I think if relationships were based purely on conversations or purely on intelligence, we wouldn't have the problem with race. But unfortunately, humans, in everything that we do, appearance is everything. We care about appearance, the external appearance.
You have bewitched me, body and soul, and I love you. I never wish to be parted from you from this day on.
I mean, if everything were based on what's inside, people with body modifications and plastic surgery would get nowhere. But as we can see with the example of the Kardashians, that gets you everywhere because they're full of plastic and silicone, which makes their outside look banging. So they make it in life. Regrettably, we're not as meaningful and authentic as I think we like to appear. I mean, the fact that an algorithm can determine who you're going to spend the rest of your life with is mortifying. You're sort of trying to moralize and place sanctimony in an environment that is nothing at all to do with such things. So it's going to fail, inevitably. Different races have different physical attributes. I'm not going to point a finger at somebody if they don't find me attractive because I'm not the right height, don't have the right complexion or hairstyle, because that's their right to find me attractive or not. Does one need to bear the weight of a word like racist because of their preference in a partner? Absolutely not. Yes, my dude. Yes, you're absolutely right, Harry. Absolutely right. It is completely fine. There are people who are not going to date certain men because they are under 6 foot, and they can have that opinion. But you know what? they are going to miss out on some exceptional people, and that's on them. But I wouldn't call them somehow discriminating against people, and that they therefore have to be coerced into dating people who are under 6 foot. Because firstly, those poor people under 6 foot having to date these people who have judged them based on something which they can't control. You know what? It's fine. Racial preferences actually, like, you know, they pull out people, you know, so yeah, let it be. If the person's lack of attraction is based upon prejudices and harmful racist tropes beyond physical preference, however, this is problematic and could certainly be deemed racist. I do agree with that. It's on a dating site, it's very specific. You are there to look for somebody to date or to have intimate relations with. Like, it's very obvious. So obviously you're going to put forward all your preferences because everybody knows the objective. It's not like going into, I don't know, it's not like just going out with friends and happening upon love. And I think we do want this sort of, oh, you know, we're just walking down the road and then we looked at each other and we were attracted to each other. But sort of seeing that initial meeting as somehow being something that is about true love and not about sort of, you know, the shallow preferences which all of us have surrounding dating when we're looking for somebody to date or somebody to, you know, get down with. So I think I find, at least in talking to people and seeing people, a lot of people who are in mixed race or interracial relationships, it doesn't originate from a place of one party having a fetish. A lot of it originates from actually these sort of encounters and sort of friendships with someone, which then evolve into a physical attraction and become a relationship or become a relationship. I think a lot of the racial fetishes are actually to do with people who on their dating profiles purposefully go out and look for people who are XYZ race. They end up just being, you know, quick shags on the side, and that's fine. I think that's totally fine. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, good on you, Harry. But according to the author of this article, it's not that simple. The grey area sometimes allows for genuine discrimination to occur, and then the line is crossed. Well, of course it does, but when the line's crossed, those people aren't people who you want to be in relationships with, so why does it matter? Amira, a student from Birmingham, believes having racial preferences that cause you to rule out dating a certain race are wholly wrong. She told the Tab, "I don't like it. You might not have dated or been attracted to a person of specific ethnicity or race, but can't say you'll never date one. If you date by that logic, it is a fetish, not a preference." I disagree. Deciding who you think you'll love is wrong. It's pretty much racially profiling your dating pool. With dating apps now, you have a much larger pool of people to choose from. Like, it's just crazy. And because of that, there is this prospect of, oh, I can settle, but there's always going to be someone better out there. Whereas without the internet, when you were dating, it was like, oh, there's only like 12 people in my area who I can choose from. And so that made it a lot easier. The likelihood of finding your soulmate is so unlikely. Like, I doubt anybody really finds a soulmate. You make your soulmate. You make it work. And I think that's why I, for instance, don't have a problem with arranged marriages if both parties are consenting and agree to it. Because I think love is something that you can learn, and it's something that you have to work upon. It's not just about the physical and sex. Similarly to how marriage and a serious relationship like marriage isn't akin to physical attraction or sex, because inevitably both parties are human beings who are mortal and are changing both mentally, physically, psychologically, every E. And they've decided to go on this journey of mortal life together with all their changes, with the change in how they feel about each other. Inevitably, they're not going to be physically like on heat around each other and toward each other for the duration of their relationship together. So I think in that context, racial preferences are a problem if it doesn't go beyond that. If you have a racial fetish, like, I don't know, yellow fever, if that relationship can't go beyond them being Asian and them being a fetish for you, that relationship's not going to last. So I feel that with a lot of people who have a fetish for someone, there's actually no conception in their mind of them actually forming a serious relationship with that person. And I think that dating apps cater toward that, which is why I think it's fine that there are racial preferences on dating apps. And I also think that a lot of serious relationships that formulate from dating apps formulate and are able to become serious because people have taken themselves off of that once they found someone and have actually discovered that, oh, I want to form a life with this person, I want to have this person in my life for a serious relationship for the long run, and therefore it goes beyond just the physical or the racial preference. So I actually don't have a problem with racial preferences on dating apps. It begs the question, why do you find that race unattractive? Mirabelle, a Durham student, told the Tab, when someone says, I don't date this race or whatever, or I don't find this race attractive, it begs the question, what about that ethnicity are you not attracted to? Because it's not like you've met everyone of that ethnicity, and you're making it clear that before you even get to know them, you've already decided that you don't date that race or ethnicity. So it's not personality, it's about race, and that's wrong. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. I'm speechless, absolutely speechless. Obviously, this argument is framed differently depending on the race of the individual it comes from. Why people saying they'd never date a black person automatically seems worse than a black girl saying she'd only date black boys, for example. The main reason it sounds so much worse is because of the Western beauty ideals that are enforced on us from when we're wee babies.
Take a look, take a look, take a look at the blue sky. Take a seat in the heat, take a breath of Rhode Island.
It makes no sense. It really doesn't. Allowing users to filter by race is almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It legitimizes it. They're going to do it anyway. If racial preferences so easily run the risk of being racist, they have no place on dating apps. Grindr knew what they were doing when they removed that filter. We can only hope that apps like Hinge do too, so people have to confront their harmful ideals in dating. It's like enforcing a pro-vegan policy at a slaughterhouse. It makes no sense.
Take a look, take a look.